how many transactions that happen. But transactions is only comes under, there would be a property which should come from the either event or concept, right? So I'm just going to correlate the any one of this, either event is generating from the on the fly, right? So I'm just going to correlate the transaction which are going to stored always inside the concept. So there should be a concept dot property history value should be more than 1. These are the predefined conditions, because I am going to correlate the things, I am going to evaluate the things. Jnani, you join? Jnani? Hello? Okay, 1 second, is a key point, right? Is also, I want him to also understand. Hello? Join anyone? Okay, so I'm correlating the concept property value. I mean, my concept property is nothing but a transaction field. How many times the transactions have happened between the 2 minutes of the time. Okay, for that particular, the prerequisite is that particular property should have a history value, and more than history value should be more than 1. Suppose if I keep history value 0, that particular concept store the will not store the times of always whenever the value changes, right? So let's me now you understand this point, right? Let me open the design of the same project. See, so I am going to correlate the account concept property value, right? Let me see, any property value has more than any property has configured history values. Okay, see, it's the prerequisite is whatever the property you are going to correlate, that history should be more than 1. Okay, I am always taking all the values, whatever the values happening for the debit field, I'm taking all the values, and the history should be 5. Means my ring buffer has 5 fields to always store the all the values of the debit transaction, including the timestamp. Okay, when I store the timestamp, then only I can correlate when this transaction happened or how many transactions happened between the time limits for 10 to 15 minutes. Maybe in future your requirement, maybe you want to count how many transactions happen in 24 hours. For that time, you have to take a scorecard in that particular field. You have to define one static constant, value is 24 hours. You always minus the current time minus 24 and the current time, and what are the property you are going to manage. So let me see how the temporal functions are going to be used in the rules. Okay. Fraud detection, right? Fraud detection. Hey, you know this particular example use case, guys. This is this is the function. This is the function counts the this is a function counts the number of the debit transactions, number of the how many times this particular property has has been changing since the time limit defined in the defined in this function, particular function. Okay, my category is temporal, so I'm going to, my requirement is to count how many times this particular value has changed between the from the particular time to particular time. Okay, how many is the functions we are going to use for this particular use case. I'm going to count how many times this particular value has changed. What is the, see the syntax of this function? Property atom pa, and long s time meaning is a starting time, long e time meaning it's end time. Okay, boolean bound by s, you have to uh, put some flag for this function. I'm going to use this particular function. Okay, now this particular property is debits, and what is the start time? Start time is, guys, you are getting my voice or not? You are experiencing any network difficulties?
No.
Vijay, okay? Hello? Jnani, you are getting? Okay, this is the start time minus fraud criteria interval. This is the constant value. I'm fine, I can hear. I'm fine, okay. Okay, fine, not a problem. Okay. See, this value, suppose this value current time is, suppose, for example, I'm just writing here for sake of understanding. This is, suppose, 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock 49 minutes 12 seconds. Okay, minus, what is the fraud criteria interval? I have defined a scorecard. There is a field called interval. This value is 120 seconds, means 2 minutes. It means 2 minutes. All together equal to 08 49 minus 2 means 47 from 12 seconds. I'm taking this value from this time to, what is the current time, comma, let me remove this one, comma, what is the current time, 08 47 12, sorry, 49, right? 08 49 12. Getting it? This means there is a difference between the 2 seconds, 2 minutes, and I'm calculating how many times this particular value, this particular concept property is changed between the time limit. Suppose this particular true is, I'm just going to evaluate. Okay, this particular function may return number of times it changed. Okay, for example, number of times in the sense number of transactions, because debiting is nothing but a transaction. Okay, for suppose there are 7 transactions that happen. Let us assume this function may return 7 transactions, or may return 5 transactions, may return 6 transactions, isn't it? Now, if suppose this particular function may return 5 transactions, 7 transactions, always greater than what are the fraud criteria number of transactions. I might have written some value if suppose there are some transactions happened in between the time limit. I'm just going to take an action. If it is 5 transactions, I'm not going to take anything. If it is more than 5 transactions, I'm going to suspend this card, because my card got stolen by somebody. They were, if some anybody tried with number of times in the time limit with wrong password or number of wrong debit transaction, and I have a particular, the bank has some particular use case with failed transaction. This many number of transactions may happen in the time between the interval of the time. Okay, thing is, if suppose my use case is if somebody tried with 5 transactions continuously with wrong password with wrong transaction, so the action should be going to be suspended. If it is fraud criteria number of transaction is going to be greater than the function, the return value is greater than the number of transactions, so what kind of action going to be happen? And one more thing is, if the card, the account has another property called status, it's not suspended. If suppose this particular use case may not relevant, because in the real time any suspended card will not allow to do more than transactions, isn't it? It's immediately throw an exception. This card is suspended. It won't return anything, right? Maybe, but for us, learning, better understanding, they are checking another condition as well. See, account.status also not suspended. See, one more thing I just want to highlight here. Here, this is this is one condition. This is one condition, and this is another condition, and this is another condition. So there are 3 conditions, they group together in the sense there is no conjunction in between, there is no and or are not required, because these three individual conditions going to check based on the data about the concept. The concept is nothing but account concept here. So you may understanding like this. So any group of the conditions which are not, which are which are basically individual to the data based on the concept, you can directly write one by one. No need to put or and something like. If something, we can keep the and or conditions when the data is same. You want to check particular condition grouped together. These are 3 individual conditions based on the different properties in the concept value. See, here I'm going to check status. Now here just debits. Okay, and here this is actually not this condition is not required. I'll explain you for understanding. If I explain you, because this required some anatomy functions explanation is required. I'll explain you later. So if it is conditions are individual, you can write one by one, not a problem. So okay, let comes to our discussion. Account.status is not suspended, and if it is more than transactions happened in the time limit. If suppose these 2 conditions are okay, what I'm going to do is, here I just want to make this account status should be suspended, and I'm sending to the user saying this card is a fraud happened, and a suspected fraud happened. I just want to send a message to the system, and as well as whoever saying in the ATM machine, whatever. You have any doubts for this particular condition?
No.
Vijay? Jnani? Okay. Now, now we'll run this example. Before that, let me explain some more things like, what is anatology functions, what is CEP query functions, what is RDBMS functions. Yesterday, I discussed about the standard functions. Standard functions, there are different categories provided by the TIBCOBE engine for evaluating the conditions, more easily and more easiness. Okay, that how we can evaluate the XPath by using the XPath for conditions and temporal functions. You remember, you always, people always confuse how to correlate the one particular property in the concept, right? See, first you should come from the root. Okay, that particular property has an history value, and you always think about that use case. If suppose that has an history value more than 5 or more than 6, more than 100, it doesn't matter. Then only we are going to correlate the previous values, or we can count the things in between the time, because it has a ring buffer, right? It always stores all the values associated with the timestamp, isn't it? So immediately the requirement should be, oh, we are keeping all the values for this particular properties. These values may be useful in future to correlate or to count the transactions, something like that. For that, BE engine provided a category called temporal, right? In that, what function we just used here? Here history function, right? Let me go to history. Then what is the function? How many? Where is how many? This how many? See, there are the other functions which are, which are the key point is which are always acts on the history value of the property. Just, focus on that key concept. You can manipulate these functions. See, let us randomly, I'll select one example, how old. Okay, what it does actually. So by looking this how old, this method returns how old the oldest value in the property's history, isn't it? Okay, for that I required a property value. For example, this particular function returns, suppose my history value is 7. Imagine my history value is 7. Okay, there are 5. I can able to keep, there are 7 values associated with the timestamp, right? Suppose somebody asking when you started this ring buffer. Okay, that means how old, what is the starting point, what is the starting value and associated timestamp. See, I never, referred this function, but I got to know by understanding the history and concept value, right? Let me take how current. See, what is the newest value in the ring buffer? How history, how many value it's been stored in this time, in the particular time limit. Something, you guys getting it? What I'm trying to explaining you? No, you guys are all mute or something. Okay, it's fine. The third one is, let me explain about the anatology functions. Anatology functions, you refer the document. Anatology functions is nothing but whatever we predefined in the design time, right? Because as per our requirement, we may give the definition of the event, which may which may come over the particular channel from the different sources, right? So I just suppose there may be event is coming with salary event. If somebody's salary is greater than 500, right? For that particular message, I should predefine the event, right? With the event and type is salary and something like that I need to configure, isn't it? So whatever I'm configuring, whatever I'm event drivening or what is model driven, right? Whatever I'm modeling things, right, in the design time, suppose I may create two concepts, I may create events, I may create scorecards, right? So each data structure, I mean each uh, entity in the design time, it has its own predefined functions will be available. Those will be automatically generated once you designing the project. Suppose I'm going to create a project, I'm going to create a concept called, hello, what's happening? Are you getting my voice? Hello, Balaji?
Yeah, yeah, I'm getting.
Okay, Rakesh, Vijay?
Yeah,
Okay. Now I'm going to create one concept. Okay, let me go ahead with concept. Add resource. One concept is called Rakesh. Rakesh department has fields like department and the residence. Let it be for a while. And I'm going to create another concept. Vijay and yeah, properties. Group name, college name. Let me create an event Rakesh Vijay. Vijay, a concept has properties something mm, first name, second name, third name. Okay. See, I here what I'm trying to explain is here. I just modeled some entities here called one concept, Rakesh department concept, and Vijay and Jnani concept, and one event. Okay, Rakesh Vijay Jnanishwar. Okay. See, I just designed some events and some concepts in the designer. Designer in the sense design time. Okay. Designer is a tool for designing the big TIBCO components. Now, let me go to the roles. What are the things coming? I'm just going to create another role. In the role set, let me go to the role set first. Okay, let me go to here. I'm just creating another rule called what is this? What is this? Okay, let me go inside. Oh, I know. I have a standard functions to manipulate the data provided by the TIBCOBE. Okay, so let me check what is anatology functions. See, click, sorry, click anatology functions. Let me go to the concept because see, oh sorry, I defined event in the concept folder, right? So it came wrong actually. Sorry for mistake. Let me keep inside events. Okay, this is another use case also. We can think about is something we misplaced that comes automatically. Now let me say, come to the what is this role? Let me check anatology functions. Go to concepts. See, see, whenever you create anything in the folder structure, those things will be automatically coming. And what we can do with this concept, suppose let me go to the Rockets department concept. What are the functions defined for the Rakesh? See, I can able to create an instance, right? Getting it? And Vijay and Jnani, I can able to create an instance, right? With the values, I can provide the values, isn't it? The group name and college name automatically came, right? Let me the account. Account it has the balance, debit status, and average monthly balance. And let me go to the event. Rakesh, Vijay, Jnani, right? What is there in the event? See, I can create an event of the type, this particular data fields, right? Let me go to the rules. Sorry, rule functions, right? Rule functions also, because I can let me generalize a statement. Whatever I define, that means whatever I myself, created it based on the requirement, right? It's not, provided by the tool. That means rule function is my own requirement, and Rakesh department concept is my requirement. I only model that, I only design that, and Vijay and Jnani is also that my own concept, and Ravi, Vijay, Jnani, this that particular event is also my own things. Whatever I design, those things will be coming to the anatology. Anatology, it has own definition. That the meaning of anatology is nothing but whatever and how you are giving its own definition to the entities, that comes under the anatology functions. Okay, I think you guys got understanding this one, right? Let me delete this. For understanding, I just created. Tomorrow you will come to know, you already come to know what is standard functions, and already come to know what is anatology functions. Getting it? Now let's come to the other functions. So now I discussed standard and anatology functions. Anatology functions has its own meanings of the objects and entities and nothing but events. And in the rules folder, those any if you create any rule functions, right, those also automatically comes. Okay, you can directly invoke by dragging this rule function here, isn't it? By passing some parameters. Whatever the instance, right, you can directly drag. If you want to create an instance of the debit, right, you can directly drag by passing some values. We'll play around, not above. Now let's come to the RDBMS functions. Remember, I have explained something while creating the concept. There is a extended properties, right? Extended properties is nothing but to store that particular concept in the persistent storage area. Persistent storage area is nothing but any some permanent storage, either database, whatever your customized memory, whatever, it doesn't matter. There, this particular function will, if suppose you are using database for the backing storage area or keeping the data in some persistent storage area, these functions will be coming to the picture. Let me see what is there. Assetting, see, by looking, the name implies assetting DB instance, begin transaction. This I want to, if you want to do, for example, you have already done few transactions, but you want to commit all together by calling this commit function. If you want to delete some particular transactions and want to execute prepaid, get connection, these are all related to the DBMS things. I mean, it's related to the database things. Okay. Now, the more important thing is CEP query. CEP query is bit confused way to use and all. See, I have a data is stored in the database. Okay, my BE engine is working in somewhere. For example, my BE engine is working in Red Hat Linux or Solaris or Windows. Okay, it's running, but my Oracle database is running somewhere. Thing is, I need to get the data of the any concept, but is that is already been stored in that database. So I need to make a call, right? I need to make a database call to get the data from the database. So instead of avoiding every time calling database and fetching the data from the database, so many overburdens are there. For that, we have TIBCO provides some query mechanism, something like query mechanism from the database. That I will explain you. This even I never tried these functions, but I can explain you this weekend. We'll have some small example this weekend. Delete, exist, intents. This is a query kind of stuff. This query functions. Suppose by looking itself, by looking itself, we can come to know this particular statement is there or not. Find column. If the data is available in the database, we can find the column. Get column count, get column name from the particular database table, isn't it? And something we'll try out. Result set, it's almost things from the Java. If you have experience in Java, JDBC driver and all, right, these things will be coming to the picture. There we can query the things from the particular database or schema or columns, tables, so many things. Now, I hope I explained 70% of the standard functions or DBMS functions. You got better understanding where to use and when to use and how to use in the rules. Okay, what is anatology functions, what is standard functions, where to get the necessary values, and the way to use database functions. Everything you all almost 80% I can say you will well explain to the people if somebody asks you. Okay. Now things coming from the let me remove this as well, because it's changing something. Okay, now I explained fraud detection. Fraud detection is main use cases if anybody tried more than transaction from the in between the starting time and end timing. And the other rule is apply debit. Okay, something, if forget about the fraud. Okay, something you are genuine candidate, you are taking money from the ATM machine, that means that particular money will be debit from the your main balance. Okay, event is generated, that means you inserted the ATM card, and I have a data, stored data about this particular account. So see, these are the matching data. Okay, this, okay, see, in the account, what are the values, and let me first negative balance. This will gives everything. Will apply fraud. Okay, this initialize rule. I explained, right? Initialize rule functions. See, initialize rule functions. External ID is always account name. Okay, I'm always keeping account name. That's why apply divide function always checking this external ID, account ID. The event is generated with some fields, right? Account ID. Once you inserted the ATM card, it has an account name and account ID and how much money you are deducting from your balance, right? Now first event is generated. I'm checking with the account ID. The account is already stored in the concept, account concept, the property called external ID. If both are same, now I'm debiting the money from the main balance. What is action going to be executed? Account is not suspended. Account ID same. Account is not suspended. And whatever the money you are going to debit, right? That money I'm going to assign to the debits property of the account, because I'm going to keep this value, right? Because there are, I have kept, there are history values 5. Every time I need to assign the debits to the account concept debit property. Now I am going to whatever the instance amount minus from the existing balance. That again goes to the balance property of the account, isn't it? Okay. And this is a new balance. So I just applied the debit transaction and just display if something account is suspended, right? If suspended account, I cannot able to, even though account ID is same also, if it account is suspended, I'm not able to do anything, right? It just come to the else portion. So this, we cannot do debit transaction, something like. After that debit happened, right? I'm going to consume the event. Okay, negative balance check. How it's going to be? Suppose event is, I already applied here, right? Apply debit, right? I already applied here. Suppose you have in your account you have 250 bucks. Okay, in the debit transaction, your debit transaction, you try to remove, you tried debit amount is, suppose you want to remove, you want to take the money 300 bucks, but you have only 250 bucks, right? Okay, the money allows you to draw 300 bucks. It goes to the minus balance, right? The balance here, I have 250, but you are going to debit 300, so the balance will be minus, isn't it? So once, how do I check? This will be fired, because account balance less than 0 and this shouldn't be suspended. Then you have, next time anybody tried with a debit transaction, right? So you have, it displays like, you have a negative balance, you cannot draw money from your existing account. For that you should keep some money in the account, then only the ATM allows you to draw some money. So this full example, uh, I will explain one more time tomorrow with some drawing some diagrams, because if you fully understand this example, you will be able to write your own programs, because it has how to apply the debit transaction, how to find out how many transactions happen for fraud, and how to check the negative balance. These use cases can be applied to any other enterprise, like if something apply debit can be something, how much time it's acquired for doing this process. The fraud, if somebody tried number of times, check negative balance, whether this operation is feasible or not, doing something. So this generalized statements, and this is what today's session. I hope you understand. This Saturday Sunday will plan for this Saturday Sunday, strictly I'm going to explain Saturday 5 examples and Sunday 5 examples. Okay, to run Saturday Sunday